Okay, welcome everyone. We'll just give a few minutes for all the participants to settle in. Right, we've got 32 people in already. Oh, we've got people already raising their hands. Just hang on a sec. We'll get through some discussions first, and then we'll take questions. Right, okay, we're up to 44 people, 44 people. Okay, I think I'll just start right now. Good afternoon, everybody. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this fine afternoon for our first VSN 2030 Public Town Hall. Today, we have Cik Shamil Yusof, who is the CEO for Data Sukan and also in charge of the National Digital Transformation Secretariat, and I believe also in charge of VSN, Mr. Shamil, correct? All right, and also we have Richard Wee, who is also representing the Sports Industry Coalition. He's also going to be helping me moderate this session this afternoon. My name is Shafiq Iqbal. I'll be your host and moderator for this afternoon. Just some housekeeping rules before we start. We're gonna do this in two ways. So first of all, you can ask questions or put comments in the Q&A section of the Zoom call. It's at the bottom pane. You'll see a pane at the bottom. There's a Q&A section there. You can click that and put your questions into the Q&A section, or even put your comments in the Q&A section. The reason why is that everything you type in the Q&A section will be recorded and will be minuted and will be taken into our report. The chat box is more for us to just communicate with each other. You can drop your LinkedIn accounts or any contact details in the chat group to network with other people in the group. But just to remember, whatever you type in the chat group will not be collated into the VSN collection of information. That all will be down in the Q&A. What we'll also do during the Q&A section is that you may raise your hands and we will allow you to talk. We will allow you to pose your questions or to give your comments. Just to make it clear, we're not here to answer your questions. We're here to hear what your questions are, to get them recorded, and also to hear your feedback on certain items on how we can make this VSN 2030 a reality. So it's going to be a very constructive and open session. We try to refrain from ranting or untoward complaining. I'm sure a lot of you have complaints or want to voice out some issues, but please try to couple them with some constructive feedback or suggestions on how we can move forward so that we all can work together on making something better for everyone in the sports industry. So without further ado, I would like to pass it on to Richard to say a few words, and then we will pass it on to Shamil after that. Richard, the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Shafiq. Thanks for having me here. Thank you very much for VSN for inviting Shafiq and I to moderate this event. As some of you are members of the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, of the Sports Industry Coalition, and I understand that there are also some people in this group who may not be a member of the MOU, but much obliged, welcome aboard. For those who are from the MOU, hello. This town hall was designed specifically for the members of the SIC. I think the Ministry of Youth and Sports acknowledges the existence of this MOU group and would like to gain your views, or should I say gain our views. I am also a member, gain our views for this. For today's session, moving forward, Encik Shamil will be sharing a deck with us, slides with us, where he will highlight to us the relevant aspects of the Visi Sukan Negara 2030. Truth be told, the deck is actually a very lengthy deck, but after much discussion, Encik Shamil will limit it to about 20 minutes, Shamil, 15-20 minutes.
Possibly even shorter, Richard.
Yeah, shorter the better, because I think it's not about what the speakers want to say, but it is what the stakeholders want to share. That is far more important. Now, before we start again, echoing what Encik Shafiq has mentioned, the primary purpose of this town hall meeting is to elaborate on the canvas that VSN is doing, the Visi Sukan Negara canvas, which Encik Shamil will be highlighting later. This canvas is actually to put into place and record our aspiration, our ambitions, and what we want Malaysian sports to be by the year 2030. I know some of you will say, look, Richard, we have done this many times. I've been here many times. I've been in this industry for quite some time now. I've seen it happening before, but I see something different about this. Because here, even the minister himself have repeatedly stated that this canvas is not about the minister, but about the stakeholders, the people. And I think that's something important because we really have something to say here, and it's going to be taken into account. So without further ado, I thank the 79 people who are already in the group. We are all stuck at home, most of us. So very busy with work. And you choosing to come in onto this Zoom meeting, it's very inspiring to all of us who's been working behind the scene to get this running. So, Encik Shamil, may I metaphorically pass the mic to you, and let you share with us what exactly is VSN 2030 before my friend Encik Shafiq take back the moderator's mic, and we'll move forward on this. All yours, Shamil. Much obliged.
Bismillah. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to everyone present here today. My name is Shamil Yusof. I am the CEO of Data Sukan, as well as National Sports Digital Transformation Center. I'm very proud to be here today, not as the leader as mentioned by Shafiq, thank you sir, but as a wakil, as a representative of Team Kementerian Belia dan Sukan for the VSN Secretariat, which consists of all the warga KBS and all the agencies under KBS, which includes Majlis Sukan Negara, Institute Sukan Negara, JBSN, as well as other agencies. So Visi Sukan Negara 2030 is the brainchild of Team KBS, and we are very proud and honored to be part of it and to be a mouthpiece as well as amplifier and a megaphone towards the inculcation of VSN 2030 into everyone within the industry and beyond. So to start today, I am tasked with welcoming all of you on board to the first public town hall for VSN 2030, which is session 1 with Sports Industry Coalition SIC. However, just to clear up, this engagement town hall series has actually begun many months ago within the governmental structure, within the civil service, as well as the agency structure, within and beyond KBS, which reaches out to all the associations, NSAs under the PJS. There were certain focus groups that included academics as well as other subject matter experts. So we are very excited to start speaking on a series of public town halls with all of you. And we hope that this will be the progressive start of many town halls and dialogues and forums and discourses, which will be able to equip us towards producing a roadmap and blueprint which is progressive for everyone. So to begin, allow me to share some slides. I will be running through VSN 2030 as well as its iteration as Canvas VSN 2030 for everyone's benefit. Okay. As an introduction, the Malaysian Ministry of Youth and Sports, KBS, we are in the midst of developing a National Sports Vision 2030, a roadmap, a blueprint that will drive the nation's sporting future for the next decade through the empowerment of industry-related policies to develop a vibrant sports industry that is comprehensive, integrated, and collective. So the rationale that became our compass behind designing the approach to this blueprint begins with our intent on positioning Malaysia as a leader in the global sporting landscape that we will hopefully be able to reinforce via a sustainable sports industry. So we believe that to achieve success on the international arena, we need the support of the local sports industry, a support that is truly professional, celebrated, and highly valued. So number 2, we are committed to the aspirations and principles of the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, Wawasan Kemakmuran Bersama, to ensure that this national sports development agenda supports the aspiration and principles of WKB 2030. Number 3, we are committed to advancing the Agenda 2030 within United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. And to support the implementation of SDG, we are prioritizing the principle of inclusivity and sustainable development within all facets of VSN 2030. Next, we will be leveraging on the rapidly evolving application of technology in the ever-changing digital world. So we understand that rapid technological improvements in recent years, the nation needs to fully adopt and adapt to incorporate newer technologies in developing various fields of sports. Never before, we are living in an unprecedented time. So never before have we been faced with the kind of technological acceleration and growth as we are today. So Team KBS is fully committed to help the industry and everyone within the ecosystem to be able to harness and embrace this effectively. Last but not least, we are looking at the perspective of emerging new sports. So the emergence of new sporting areas must be given an equal opportunity to continue to grow in Malaysia. We understand that existing sports are evolving, as well as new and basically new from the ground up sports are being embraced by communities everywhere. So Team KBS is committed to understanding and also bringing these sports to the fore for the future generations. So before we jump a bit further, I'd like to further clarify what is Visi Sukan Negara? What do we envision to give birth to? Number 1, we are planning to produce a sports developmental planning compass for a period of 10 years in line with the vision of WKB 2030, which is a shared prosperity vision. Number 2, we are seeking towards the development of a collective, inclusive and comprehensive national sports development plan with the concept of from the community to the community. Number 3, we aim of making Malaysia a sporting nation with a mission to cultivate sports as a catalyst to improve socio-economy and the quality of life. And finally, we are seeking to produce a document that will outline key thrusts, new focuses and high impact approaches in empowering the national sports development agenda with a clear outcome and effective action plans for everyone. With that in mind, we have ascertained 6 focus areas within building of this canvas VSN 2030. Please bear in mind that these pillars were contrived as a means of finding a path and creating the roadmap and roadway towards understanding the blueprint that will be VSN 2030. And with that in mind, we have produced it according to these major pillars. To begin, number 1 is sporting culture or pembudayaan sukan, where we are seeking to promote sports culture as a lifestyle for all Malaysians by enhancing the sports ecosystem to be more inclusive and community friendly. Number 2 is sporting excellence or kegemilangan sukan, where we want to establish a high-performance sports ecosystem to improve on the ecosystem that we already have, that is active in nurturing champions on the global stage. Next, we have talent development, or pembangunan bakat, where we are looking to effectively identify, nurture, and empower future talents through a structured and comprehensive national talent development model that is driven by innovative scientific application. Fourth is Sporting Hub or Hub Sukan, where we want to position Malaysia. We work to position Malaysia as a preferred destination for world-class sports services, not just infrastructure, but include services, facilities, coaching, and other professional sports services. Number 5 is very much relevant to everyone in this town hall today, which is sports industry empowerment, where we seek to provide a fertile environment towards empowering a progressive and high value-added sporting industry that significantly contributes to the national economy. And finally is professionalism in sports, where we want to enhance professionalism, add integrity in the national sports ecosystem by focusing on high integrity and effective governance. So with that, before we go further deep into the topic, I'd like to echo our dearest YB Menteri in his speech during the launch of Canvas Visi Sukan Negara on the 7th of April. YB Menteri Datuk Sri Rizal Marikan began by saying that the days where the government knows best is over. So that is a sentiment that everyone, each and every one of us within the VSN Secretariat and Team KBS would like to echo strongly. Hence, together with YB Menteri, we have given birth to Canvas Visi Sukan Negara 2030. Canvas Visi Sukan Negara is an initiative that precludes, is a prologue to the by Ministry of Youth and Sports to acquire and gather aspirations and hopes from Malaysians in guiding the government in formulating the direction of the nation's new sports development roadmap. KBS plans to do this more collectively, to try to listen to every voice imaginable, to try to collate and collect your opinions and feedbacks, and then use it positively towards empowering a progressive and sustainable sports industry. So the two major components of Canvas Visi Sukan Negara is the portal, which is World Wide Web. You can reach via www.vsn2030.my. It is an interactive online portal for citizens to voice their views and aspirations. You can surf the website for you to be able to share your aspiration, as well as your suggestions and feedbacks and inputs towards making this VSN much more concise and coherent reality. Number two are the plethora of engagement sessions that we have done up to date, and we plan to do up to the October, to the third quarter of 2030. So the Canvas VSN 2030, the engagement sessions includes interactive portals for citizens, as well as includes a lot of engagement sessions with town halls such as today's, for us to be able to listen to as many people as we can. The timeline for Canvas VSN 2030 kicked off on the 7th of April with the launching of Canvas VSN 2030. We have slowly and steadily improved our engagements with many stakeholders from various categories, for us to be able to understand better what is the voice, what is the suara of the rakyat when it comes to sports and the industry in general. So from April to June, we will be conducting data collection and engagements. Within July, we will attempt to develop the initial document of VSN 2030. In August will be the editorial and final revisions to run through the various committees, the various subject matter experts, as well as the panel of experts and the Pejabat Menteri itself, towards gearing for the VSN 2030 publication in September and October. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to underline the fact that your voices need to be heard. Your visions are our aspirations. We want to hear your complaints, but we also want to hear feedback which is constructive. We want to hear progressive ideas which may help us become a compass for us to effectively draw up a blueprint which will serve you, which will serve us in the next decade. So please share your vision for the Canvas Visi Sukan Negara and visit vsn2030.my to leave your input. So I would like to hand over back to my co-moderators, Richard and Shafiq. Thank you so much, everyone, for giving me the time to share on VSN 2030. And we look forward to hear from you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shamil, for the introduction to VSN. So right now, we're going to open it up to the floor. Two ways we're going to do this. You can, of course, pose your questions in the Q&A, and we will try to answer them. But I must remind you, this is not a session for us to answer your questions, but to collect what your questions are and to see how we can address them on a bigger scale through VSN 2030. The other way we're going to do this is that you may raise your hands now to actually allow us to give you the opportunity to talk or to share your aspirations by speaking out. So if you raise your hands, we can allow you to talk. We can give you that possibility to share with everyone who's on the call today. There are over 91 people on the call today. All right, so we are going to try this. So we have Norlia Yusuf, who wants to say something. Norlia, we have just allowed you on to start speaking. So you can unmute yourself and share your aspiration or provide your hopes and dreams for VSN, or even pose a question for us to take into the system.
Thank you, Shafiq. Shamil, hi, Richard. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Shamil, I really like hearing what you said. I really hope, for the sake of all of us, right at Malaysia and Malaysia, what you have mentioned there happens. Even if it doesn't happen 100%, 50% to me is really good. But I'm gonna have this big but. We are now in 2021. All these years, after all these years we are talking about this, what do you think are going to be the critical factors that will make what you have suggested happen? Because a lot of these things, I'm sure many of us, many times over many years, we have all aspired to have what you have said, but we are still talking about it today. What will be the barriers? How are we going to manage the barriers? How are we going to remove the barriers? How are we going to make sure there's clean, forward moving to manage all this so that we can achieve what you have achieved, because it's really good for all of us Malaysians. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Nolia. And Shamil?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the words of encouragement. I'd like to also share that one of the major messages that YB Menteri always passes on to us within the VSN Secretariat is that we need to ensure that this document is a living document, a plan which will be revisited every year, reinvigorated and improved from time to time from the learnings that we will hopefully garner from the next few years, and that this plan needs to work beyond any minister and work beyond any administration actually. So it needs to be a living plan that serves the people and the industry in the next decade. Thank you, ma'am.
Great. So we have a question here from Encik Faris Haziq. He's asking, salam, saya nak tanya kalau ada bantuan apa-apa ke untuk sektor sukan? I think that is a big question which a lot of the sports industry coalition here really want to see. And I believe that you may have some insights on how we may be able to help the industry.
I believe that I may not be the best person to answer that question. That is a question for another session, I believe. But there are many plans being underlined right now by KBS, by the relevant units within KBS to further help Majlis Keselamatan Negara in understanding the moving forward plans for the SOP, as well as the plans for plan-plan bantuan di bawah penjana dan perhatian di bawah MCO 3.0. So I believe that I myself am waiting for news on that. So let's all hang on to the right channel to be able to get the updates within the next few days, inshallah.
Thank you, Shamil. I know that was a tough one to answer, but thank you for actually putting the effort in there. I mean, I think a lot of people know that it's difficult to get things done, and I think it's good to show that you are trying your best to facilitate the industry as best we can. I think we're not sitting on our asses and hoping for the best, but trying our best. Richard, you want to add anything to that? You're muted, Richard.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. I had to leave the room for 10 seconds. I apologize. This is the perils of working from home.
I understand. Now, the question was basically, I think you have been facilitating the sports industry coalition as well. I think the question was, is there any help for the industry? And I think there are, and you've also been in touch with the Menteri. I think we don't have concrete answers, but I think just letting the panel, letting our audience know where things are moving will give them some sense of assurances that we're working our best for the best of the industry.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's a very relevant question. The fact remains is, and I dare say I speak for everybody in the sports industry for whatever sports we are in, sports is very badly affected by the pandemic. I know that statement is cliche, everybody is claiming that, but people have no idea that, for example, I'm not discounting the tourism industry while the hotels are complaining, but people can still stay in hotel, except now lah. But the sports industry, we just can't do anything. We can't organize anything. And that is unfortunately very painful for our fellow industry players. But just an insight, I think for those who are new in this chat room, in this Zoom room, the Ministry of Youth and Sport actually has already approved the SOP led by Encik CG Lim, Encik Azman and Mr. Ku Wei Siang, were the unofficial leaders of the Sports Industry Coalition. presenting a SOP to the ministry on how to run a mass participation sports. So unfortunately, before we could launch, the numbers spike again. And I also understand that the other industry players, the fitness centers, etc., they are also in direct communication with MITI to allow the relevant industry to go on. So that is going on. With regards to finances and whatnot, unfortunately, we're not trying to deflect the topic, but truthfully, I think Shamil, Shafiq, and I are not in a ideal position to give a preferred answer. But we are aware of certain penjana funds provided by the government and the banks. So we would propose that you have a look at that and try to see whether it can help you. I wish we could say that, oh yeah, here's some money and everybody can be happy. But the three of us are not in a position to say that at the moment.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rick. Okay, we've got Khairon Mukhtar who's raised his hand. We'll allow him to talk now. Khairon, you have 30 seconds to share. You can unmute yourself. You can share your vision or your aspiration for VSN. Khairon, your 30 seconds. Yes.
Hi. Hi. Thank you for giving me this precious few seconds. I follow sports since I was small, but here's the thing that that I want to raise a concern is about
Khairon,
execution.
could you just let us know where you're from?
I'm from KL.
Okay. Do you represent any organization?
No, I work for a private organization, but my kids play sports.
All right, please.
Since
go
the
ahead.
last,
thank you. Just give us a
I've
bit
seen
of context.
sports.
Yeah,
I've sent my kids to weekend practice and competition for the last 19 years, every weekend. So I follow sports development since YBKJ's time. So the thing that I'm raising a concern is the execution must be done by people with real experience. So if you could float their resume or their experience, because if we look at mass transformation plan, for the last 20 years, they have so many transformation plans, but it never got there, Malaysian airline system. So I think execution is where we need to focus, and that'll be nice if you can look at the execution plan rather than just the blueprint.
Awesome.
That's just me raising an opinion.
Awesome.
A humble opinion, I hope. So
fair comment.
Execution is the key thing. Yeah.
Okay,
So I think the plan looks good, but the execution, maybe we could float the people who's going to run this to make sure it reach the destination that we want. Yeah. Then, I will really appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Khairon Mukhtar. Thank you so much. Let us do, okay.
Thank you.
Richard.
I just want to share something. Much obliged, Encik Khairon. I think Encik Khairon's concern is universal. All of us are concerned that this is just going to be a hot air session and then it's the end. That is also personally my concern. But I can see with the operation which is running, over the years, the government of Malaysia have put into place certain successful or fairly effective programs like the podium program for high-level performances, the commercialization of sports, etc., and even the National Sports Institute. I know for a fact ISN is actively promoting technology in sports, science in sports, sports science, etc., etc. So things are being put into place. Work in progress, maybe not as fast as we wish it would be, but it is work in progress. But I think more importantly is that all of us here in this room and all the other millions of Malaysians out there who love sports, we must always put the Visi Sukan Negara to accountability. And I think Shamil wants that. Shamil wants this program to be accountable to all of us. So that's why we collate this canvas, so that later kita boleh kata, I put there, I already said that we should do this. What are you doing about it? So these are things will be important for us to hold VSN to be accountable to our aspiration. So let's continue. I think we can bring in more. Thanks, Shafiq.
Sure. Great. Okay, I think we've got another question here. But before we go to the next question, I just want to share on that comment from Khairon earlier. I mean, I myself have been in the industry for many years, and I've been a part of various initiatives to improve the industry. And I think sometimes I agree with you. Sometimes the execution is the key. And I think we have missed out on that sometimes. But I think now we've got the right people in place. I think over the years, I think right now we have the best set of people, both on the government and private side, to take this vision forward. I think, first of all, we have the right man at the National Sports Institute. The CEO, Encik Ahmad Faisal, is the right man for the job. He understands, he comes from a sporting background. He was immersed in one of the best sporting ecosystems in the world, in the US, and he knows his stuff. I mean, he's not an administrator who's learning from what you call from the books. He's been actually involved on the ground, and he is actually involved with clubs and has been there on our side of the fence. So I think we're having someone of that caliber in a position to make change is first our good strength. So I think that we have the right people in place, but I think, as Richard said, it's our collective responsibility to bring it forward. And I think we can't just say that government's not moving. We need to come together first as a coalition so that we can become a strong voice to initiate change. All right. So, okay, so we have a next question here from...
Let me add a bit on that.
Yes, please, Shamil, please go ahead, sorry.
I think it's imperative to add that the VSN Secretariat, which includes all the agencies bawah Team KBS, back to Khairun's point, completely valid point. We take that on board, Cik Khairun, hence why we are honestly and earnestly seeking to hear your voices via this canvas, Visi Sukan Negara ni. So we realize that a sexy blueprint is one half of it, but the actual plan of action is what will, determine the success of this roadmap that we seek to set. To mention to you, there have been a lot of plans before this, basically Dasar Sukan Negara 2009 and also other plans which preceded it. And I know as Malaysians, we are sometimes inundated with this dasar, that dasar, this plan, that plan, yeah. Some more this year with the pandemic, but still Team KBS is fully committed not to let that get lost in translation. Hence why we are giving it enough ample time, a duration that we believe up to October, to be able to listen to all of you and to be able to filter and digest these ideas and plans into an effective plan of action. Thank you.
Great. Okay, we'll go to the next question here from Ahmad Arif Astaman. Hi guys, thank you for your time. I'm just wondering if other ministries with a vested interest in the success of VSN 2030, such as the Ministry of Health for health improvement outcomes, or the Ministry of Works for facility construction and management outcomes, have been involved this far? I mean, have they been involved, or has it just been within the sports fraternity? I think before we pass it to the panelists, I think I just want to add that I myself have been involved, I think where Shamil and also Richard were involved, where we've had several sessions with other ministries. I think there was one on esports quite a while back where we had the Ministry of Health, we had Ministry of Education, all different parties were introduced there. So there has been a tradition of cross-ministry collaboration for sports. And I think for VSN, Shamil can enlighten us a bit more. Shamil? You're muted, Shamil.
Sorry. The doors to KBS is always open for cross-collaboration between ministries, agencies, and other smaller organizations as well. So YB Menteri has practiced a very open door policy in terms of listening to ideas and also suggestions from everyone. But the hardest job now is to collate all of this into an effective plan, as mentioned before. So in terms of collaboration, we're very excited to report that yes, there is a very comprehensive collaborative effort at foot now in terms of 2030.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, we've got a very interesting comment in the chat here from Sarina Sundararaja regarding educating and empowering our athletes. I think that's a very pertinent point. For us to get it recorded, could you just put it in the Q&A section? And then, because everything written in the Q&A section will be recorded on the system. In the chat, it will not be recorded. So the chat will just go on. It's basic communication. But if you want your comments or your questions recorded under VSN, please put them in the Q&A. We may not have our time to answer all the questions, but it will be recorded for us to address at a later point. So we will go to the next question. Mr. Asmer Z. Hi, as part of VSN 2030, would the government, KBS, planning to work with MITI to establish programs to help position locally made sports products via existing trade channels? Second question, would there also be product enhancement fund for industry placed under the National Center of Excellence of Sports Technology under ISN as part of VSN 2030. Shamil?
Okay, thank you, Azmi, for the question. There is a very large focus on technology, on nurturing emerging technologies as well as startups within that are developing those technologies. So under ISN, there are several efforts currently being developed and new policies. But for the benefit of everyone, we have the Sports Tech Accelerator Lab under ISN, which could be one of the major forces at the forefront of developing these technologies in our local landscape in the next decade.
In fact, if I can add on, Shamil,
Yes, sir.
Shafiq, do you know my Shafiq?
Yeah, please.
Much obliged. One of the biggest difference between this program and the earlier programs run by the KBS, and again, I'm not diminishing the earlier program. I'm not at all saying the earlier programs was bad, but it's just that there's something interesting here. Is that this is the, I think Shamil can correct me, this must be one of the first programs which acknowledges people like me who are not involved in sports per se, but we are industry people around sports. So I think this VSN 2030 includes professionals in sports, like sports lawyers, psychologists, physiotherapists, nutritionists, etc., etc. And there's a lot of enhancement on that kind of professionalism. And also this, as per the question raised by Sarina, a good friend of mine, there's issue of to deal with inequalities, to deal with issues of gender biasness. These are all inside the VSN 2030. So I would encourage you to raise those points too. And if you are not really an athlete like me, you know, and you are a physiotherapist, for example, share your views here so that we can capture your aspirations. Much obliged, Shafiq.
Great, thank you. Azmir, just a little bit more. I think, yeah, there will be, I mean, and I'm not sure about the funds, but what you're doing, I think we're quite familiar, and I think ISN is happy to support you, and I think a lot of people will be happy to see you succeed. So keep it going, and you know, keep fighting the good fight. All right, so next up we have Wee Siang Koo. I think his question is basically same. Will there be, you know, inter-ministry collaboration? I think the answer is yes. That will be happening. So let's go to the next question. Is there anyone who wants to raise a hand and speak? Please do. We will allow you to speak and share your aspiration or vision for VSN. Okay, next we have Jordan Yap. Jordan from Teamwork Sports Management. Our vision is to create a sustainable and profitable pro basketball league in Malaysia, operate with a clear vision, elevate basketball industry to a sustainable business model. In return, we can grow the league and create more jobs. Okay, fantastic, Jordan. I think that was just a comment for us. Okay, let's look at any other questions. All right, we have one here from Muhammad Hatta bin Abdul Rahman. What are the major changes from the previous vision versus VSN 2030? I think that's quite pertinent.
Okay, if I may give a basic answer for you. Fundamentally, the VSN 2030 is a new and refreshed approach towards understanding the sports ecosystem and landscape. However, of course, Team KBS has taken the liberty or the perspective of looking at Dasar Sukan Negara 2009 and also all of the plans and campaigns within all of the planned strategic KBS past, present and future within design. Yeah, so we do so to ensure sustainability and continuity in whatever planning, basically to avoid a short sneery situation. Yeah, so yes, to answer Hatta, this is a plan which is still synonymous, still synergistic. However, it is a new and progressive plan which we believe will garner a more global perspective on sports.
Great, thank you, Shamil. Richard, anything to add on that? No? Okay, cool. To the next question, we have a question here from Mr. Shahril Iqbal from Sports Johor. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. All right, hi Shamil. How does VSN 2030 empower or trying to fix the current industry issues? Will it fix the current industry issues?
Okay, the Visi Sukan Negara seeks to be a roadmap. Hence, it's somewhat a compass. It is a wayfinder, a directional reference to which the industry can base its future plans on. So in terms of empowering the industry to fix the current industry issues, number one, I believe that no one party is best suited to become the only absolute solution to that, Cik Syaril. I appreciate your question because I know you and I know that you are trying to tickle a larger topic. And the larger topic is that everything needs to be a public-private partnership. Yeah, between the government and businesses, between businesses and businesses, between businesses and proponents and stakeholders. There needs to be a sharing economy, an economy of sharing knowledge, sharing values and resources for us to really be able to push forward. So there is no one absolute answer towards garnering a gold medal in the Olympic Games. We need a strong industry to produce new and effective technologies for our own athletes to be able to garner marginal gains at peak performance. So it is a very intuitively intertwined situation that we are facing. Hence, Team KBS and VSN is trying to put all of that into one cohesive perspective to understand what needs to be done by whom.
Right, thank you, Shamil. Thank you. All right, I think we've got a question here that maybe Richard will be able to help answer. So this is from Mikhail Mutaki Mahayudin. Salam and hi everybody. My question is about esports or e-Sukan. Is there any known new directions? Is there any known or new directions from KBS to help the Malaysia esport industry? With the blueprint that's already been made available with the esports integrated, any further expansion and new context will be made on this? I mean, basically, I think the question is what's happening with esports? I mean, there was a blueprint that was launched, and I think Richard, during our pre-engagement, we spoke about this a little bit. So maybe you can share what's happening on esports.
Yeah, good question, Mikhail. Prior to this discussion, Shamil and I had already planned that we will be holding another separate town hall meeting specifically for the esports industry. We are quite aware that the esports industry may have certain customized and bespoke problems, issues and challenges different from what we normally call as the traditional sports. Back to the blueprint, truth be told, I am not aware now of the situation of the blueprint. As you know, the blueprint was launched by the former sports minister, YB Said Sadiq, and I believe the current sports minister is still going through it. But I don't want to comment because it's not fair. I do not know what is happening there. But one thing I do know is that VSN 2030 needs to speak and discuss matters with esports industry, right, Shamil? Yeah, I think we have to do that, right? Yeah. So much obliged for the question. Basically, long story short, my answer to you is hold on. We'll get back to the esports industry soon, but it's not left behind. It's not left behind. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard and Shamil. I think I just want to remind everybody. I mean, I see a lot of questions coming in asking, is like, are we going to do something for sport, golf? Are we going to host something for esports? I just want to remind everyone, this is not the right forum to ask, are we going to do anything for you? We are here basically, if you remember TN50 or the previous programs, we are here to collect your aspirations and your recommendations moving forward. For example, I think we've had a very good recommendation here from Azman Fahmi Osman, which has been upvoted a few times now. I mean, he has mentioned that KBS to create agency to manage sports industry, to ensure the vision. I mean, there are a lot of good recommendations. I think that's what we're looking for from everybody, to provide your recommendations so that we can record this, collate this, and present this to the powers that be. I think this is the opportunity for us to come together as a voice. I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Richard and Shamil, but I think the issue we had previously in the sports industry all these years is that sometimes we can be too fragmented, or I would say in our little tribes, and not coming together as a collective voice. And that has to be to our own detriment. You know, if we don't come together and put a collective voice to the ministry or to the government, they will never treat us as a serious part of industry because we can't get ourselves together. I think that is something where we really need to look retrospectively, look inwards to ourselves, that we need to come together so that we can be a strong voice. I mean, you see this happening with Bumi Putra associations, with Chinese Chamber of Commerce, with the different aspects. You know, I mean, like for example, right now, if you look at the factories that are, even though we're in a total lockdown and they're still open, they've got a very strong grouping that they've come together and they're putting a strong voice out there. So Richard, Shamil, you want to add on to this?
Richard?
Yeah, but as I echo everything that Shafiq said, we will continue collating information on this from this kind of town hall meetings, and hopefully we'll be able to do more than that. One more thing, Shafiq, as you mentioned also, just to add on a layer to what Shafiq said, that while the earlier programs was very much about high performance, kita juara podium program, but I think VSN 2030 also want to include amateur sports, mass participation sports, facility owners, sports owners, and professionals like people like me. So it's much wider. The net is much wider. Let's see how it goes.
Great. Shamil, you want to add anything? Good. All right. Okay, we've got two questions for the panel from Mr. C.G. Lim, another big proponent in the industry. What will be the plan to ensure that there is only a merit performance base for national athletes, removing all bias and preferences? Wow, that is a very strong question. I mean, from my point of view, is it not already based on merit? Sorry, I might be naive about this. And the second question would be, what would KBS plan to do to make sports more accessible to all, making Malaysia a sporting nation? I think maybe we don't speak on behalf of KBS, but I think from the VSN point of view, maybe we can give a few, Shamil, you can share a few of your aspirations on how we want to create a merit-based performance for national athletes, and also how to make sports more accessible for all in the future.
Okay, basically one of the major pillars of the 6 pillars that we have presented as our reference points is first is the culturalization of sports, which is pembudayaan sukan. So from a modern perspective, the culturalization of sports is something which encompasses the school and education system, the family system, and as well as the societal system. So with that in mind, working with grassroots, or rather providing platforms and tools, weaponizing the grassroots to attract not just kids, youth, even old people way into their 50s and 60s, they're still best suited to embrace new sports, So with that in mind, with the advent of social media, with the strength of all the devices and technologies within our hands, Team KBS is now in the midst of developing via RMK12 and the campaigns and components within it to create, for example, a community app and platform to be a one-stop, not a solution, but rather a collating application, a home application for KBS, as well as peak performance athletics, as well as social sports for sporting proponents to be able to use the services and also to centralize the collection of data. So with that in mind, to improve the culturalization of sports, there is such a wide variety of approaches that needs to be done. Yeah. So we need to look at our education system, the educators and academics within it. We need to look at the administrators within the sports, whether inside the NSAs and beyond, in private clubs as well. And we need to look at the governance, the highest level of governance. So again, the answer that we seek is hopefully upon us, Shafiq, Richard, and everyone. And hopefully we will be able to figure it out, collate it effectively within the time frame that we have.
Great. Okay, so we've got a few hands that have been raised here. We're going to take a little comment from Shiyong Tan. So we're allowing you onto the panel right now. So you may unmute yourself and share your aspiration or ask a question. Shiyong?
Hi, thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Hi Shiyong, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks, Richard. So yeah, I personally believe VSN is a very amazing plan, having amazing goal. So my question is, what are the measurable metrics to be used to determine whether VSN is a successful one or not? So I think on the suggestion side, would it be good that allowing people to discuss all these metrics so that the stakeholders can monitor the progress and the impact, alongside with the implementation of this program?
All right, thank you, Shayang, for your question. Shamil or Richard?
Richard, go ahead.
Well, Shayang, I think effectively, if I can understand your question, you're asking about the KPI, right, of the VSN 2030, correct? Oh, he's muted. All right.
Yeah.
So I suppose this will be a work in progress in the ministry. They already have plans. I remembered seeing a graph by Shamil before, the timeline over the duration of the years. That will be put into place. And the minister himself mentioned many times that this program will live beyond him. I think he's quite pragmatic because he knows that, let's be open and frank, in Malaysia, these next few years, we're not sure whether the same government will still be around. So he's very pragmatic about it. He mentioned that many times in his speeches. So that means the timeline that is fixed is going to be independent of who the minister is. So that is probably the closest, I think, is what we have, Shayong, to a measurable time or a KPI. Shamil, maybe you can ascertain what I mentioned. Am I accurate?
It is very accurate.
Okay.
All the levels, working levels at KBS have been instructed to ensure independence and also linearity, obviously, but also independence in terms of livelihood and survivability of all of the plans that we are going to put forth. So in terms of that, we need everyone within the industry to work together. It cannot be just a hot air plan that we shot sendiri. So it is very important that everyone provides towards this vision together.
Great. Thank you, Shamil. Okay, just a bit of housekeeping. I just like to remind everyone, I can see your comments coming in hard and fast, especially in our Q&A panes. If you see someone that has voiced what you want to say, please upvote it. You have the opportunity there to click on the like button so that we can prioritize the questions, or we can prioritize what the comments are, because this really helps us prioritize what's important. And when we take it back to KBS, it will show that, X amount of people are behind this statement. X amount of people are behind this statement. So the more you help us quantify what's important and what's really important for the industry, the better it will be for us to take to the ministry to get some outcomes. I just want to say thank you to Emir Breen. You've got some really good comments here, how we want to work past the COVID-19. Azman Fahmi Osman, great, a one-stop center for SME Corp, MDEC and everything. I believe ISN is already working with MDEC, and we have a few accelerators coming into place. Stay tuned onto ISN on what's happening. I think that will be the center of sports commercialization, or the main body that will be working with the industry on taking sports to the next level. Like I said before, you have the right man at the helm. So now is the time to actually work closely with ISN. All right. Okay. Zyril Izain, I would like to suggest for KBS to consider sports industry as a real industry, does not overlap with service and entertainment. Just to give you a bit of input there, KBS does recognize sports as an industry. I think the issue that we've had all these years is collecting the information to show what the real value of the industry is. I believe in 2011, 2012, there was a report done, and it was a preliminary report, and I think it was already in the billions contribution. I think maybe Shamil or Richard, you have more info on this, on what the sports industry is?
Yeah, that's a good question, Shafiq. I recall in February and March when the SIC group came together, which, by the way, I need to answer a separate question on this later.
Yeah.
The Sports Industry Coalition came together. The team leaders in CG Lim, Ku Wei Siang and Azman, they were collecting data. And one of the data we were trying to find was that, for example, for mass participation sport, just to share with you the challenges that we have, right? We understand that people who participate in mass running events, for example, they spend money weeks before the race, buying new socks, deep heat, etc., eating correct food, carbo loading, etc. And then they will buy new shirts, new headgear, whatever, and go and run. On the day of the run, they will take a train, they spend money on the car park, drive, etc. And then after that, the post-run is the normal nasi lemak, Malaysia nasi lemak. They spend money on food, the foot massage, the physiotherapy. Some of them, the leg, very painful, so they go for therapy. There's a lot of money spent, but unfortunately, we do not have a precise data on that. And that general contention has been shared to KBS, and then for KBS to send to the for now is MKN to show, look how important the sports industry is. So you're right. We wish we could have more data on that, but it's a challenge to get that, Shafiq. Very difficult.
Yeah, I believe, I think maybe we should get Nurjasni involved as well, I think, on these sessions. I mean, he has a lot of information and what's been done before. And I believe there was a quantification, I think, done with one of the consultants before many years ago, that we have a rough indication of what the sports industry is valued to the country. But I think that didn't go past the ministry. I think that is something that I think is very important that we revisit and show the entire value of the sports industry moving forward. I think there is like you mentioned, just one event can generate a multiplier effect of so much. So I think that all should be quantified into the industry. All right. Okay. So I wanted to
sorry, Shafiq, sorry, I forgot. There was one question. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
An earlier gentleman, I believe it's a gentleman, the name looked like a gentleman's name, inquired about the membership of the SIC. You may contact the names that I mentioned, Mr. C.J. Lim, Mr. Kuwei Siang, or Azman, who are all here in this group, and to inform them of your interest to participate. And then thereafter, a law firm will contact you to have a look on the MOU. Much obliged.
If Azman is here, shall we bring him onto the panel to say a few words?
I think we should. Either Azman, CG, or Kuwei Siang, either three of them.
Yeah,
They've been quietly doing work for the industry. I've seen them toil and foil over the work.
Okay, we've got Azman onto the panel. Yeah, and let's bring.
Hey, bro, how are you, bro?
Okay, I'm good. Hey, thanks for inviting me.
All yours, bro. Can you share about the aspiration of SIC, please?
Okay, well, we would like to, of course, we want to see our sports industry grow better than before. It's just that before too is quite subjective lah. I was involved. I was in this industry for quite some time, since even when I was in the corporate sector with Telecom Malaysia at that time. I think that, if I'm mistaken, that was the first sports industry. There's a forum or conference organized by KBS and Sportsworld, if I'm mistaken. And the thing is, most of I think there are a lot of factors that will require the sports industry to work. Like what Mr. Shamil said, it requires everybody to work together. It has to be an open mind. You tak boleh buat benda ni macam ada kepentingan sendiri. Maknanya you're not just for your sports. It has to be for everybody, every sports. It shouldn't be just focused on football, shouldn't focus on badminton or any core sports in Malaysia. It should be cut across, to everyone. Yes, we do know that MSN, dia ada some focus on certain sports that need sports, but that is MSN. Dia different kind of agenda. So what I would like to see is the sport industry doesn't follow that agenda, because that is on high performance athletes or nak menang gold, nak menang macam-macam lah. But for the sports industry should cover all and look at the people, the rakyat, how to make it a sporting nation, and also this sports business people that are not only just do events, but they also like supplier. They want to be involved in sports medicine. They want to be involved in like even sports massage. So this industry needs help because when because we are not like other industry. They already yes we can put ourselves in SME Corp, but SME Corp pun dia tak ada special focus on sports. Kita banyak ada manufacturing, construction and so on lah. Tapi when specialize in sports tu tak ada. So we hope sports industry ni boleh jadi the leader to help us, and then this is where we can get more people to be involved in sports. Currently orang macam takut nak involve in sports business because they think that ni tak boleh buat duit ni. Padahal sports business is huge actually. If you know how to do it, it's huge. And kita pun nak lebih ramai orang. And what I would like to see also is people want to make sports as a profession. So if we follow like it doesn't matter lah dia nak jadi football player ke, nak jadi sports commentator, sports photographer, it doesn't matter. But we make it as a profession so that they know that this is it's a profession lah. It's not just for the sake of because you suka sports, you can be then only you can be a sports photo camera, photo sports cameraman. So we don't want that kind of situation. What we want, how to make the sports industry grow is you make sports as a profession, make people believe that, oh, I can be a successful person in sports, either business, athletes, or profession. We can follow like Japan. I think Japan is, if you notice dulu lah, before Nagata was playing in World Cup, Nagata was the main highlight lah in World Cup. So orang tak tahu Japan main bola. Even the Japanese, they focus on baseball and that kind of sports. So when Nagata involved in football and how they promote it, how they make a proper football player, professional football player from Japan, and now is and after that, the number one when they did a survey for the kids, what you want to be when you grow up, and you can see the number of people saying I want to be a footballer. So it's getting up there. Unlike last time is accountant, doctors. So we want people to recognize sports as a profession. So that's what I would like to see in the sports industry.
Well said. Shafiq, can I add on to Encik Azman's comment?
Sure, definitely.
Thank you, Shafiq. Thank you, Encik Azman. As usual, you spoke based on your long experience in the industry. I'm going to now speak just for 2 minutes, not as a moderator, but as a member of the coalition. And in my view, the truth at the moment is that this industry is very ailing. We really need help. And echoing what Encik Azman say, and I was just informed and I was just shared that the mass participation in 2019 actually created over 1.3 billion ringgit, estimated 1.3 billion ringgit in the industry. That's massive. But I feel, because this is recorded, so I hope this goes back to KBS, the sports revival program must also be included in VSN because of what's happening in the pandemic. There must be a short-term, mid-term, and long-term plan. A short-term plan, there must be funds, whether we like it or not. We need to put into a fund to help revive the industry. People who organize events, tournaments, the running events, the cycling events, they need help, or else they will go down. And going down is not good for the economy. So we need a substantial amount to come in. Number two, a mid-term plan where with KBS involvement, KBS can then lead a plan for the next 5-10 years, working together with VSN, how to ensure that our events are world-class, top-class, and that unfortunately requires investment. So again, like what Encik Azman mentioned in Q&A, to form some sort of a so-called MDEC for sports, which will complement MSN and ISN. Then, and also PSM, don't forget the stadium. Then the last one is the long-term, that to make Malaysia, as per your words, Shamil, sports hub, right? We have a sports hub. So the sports hub must be a long-term program. And sports hub is not just having people coming here and play balik. We want people to use Malaysia, train in Malaysia, use our athletes, use our physiotherapists, use our events, engage our experts, people like Shafiq. They do events all the time. They know what to do. So these are the expertise which we can export. That is a long-term plan. I hope it's this, because this is recorded. You know, Shamil, being a panelist, I also would like to have my own ambitions. And I've always loved Malaysia to be right in the center. And I think this is the time. Short term to perk up the economy, mid-term to get us up and running again, long term to be number one.
Absolutely, Richard.
Can I just add on to what Richard said?
CG, Iron Man is here. Okay, I think all of us can leave now. Iron Man is here, we can leave already.
No, I'm
CG.
here as an industry player and as a fellow athlete as well. I think I totally agree what Richard said. The plan has to be planned out properly, as well as needs to be measurable. Yeah. So plan is a plan. If we don't have data, we don't have statistics, it's impossible to quantify whether our plan worked or not, or it's just a writing on a paper. The other thing is that I think we have been over the many years always concentrated on elite sports and trying to qualify for this and that. That doesn't help. Looking at the obesity of this nation, if you try to promote 10 athletes to spend, 300, 500,000 ringgit to travel somewhere to do a competition, whereas you have 50% of Malaysian obese. So I think the VSN of 2030 should be focusing on Malaysia as a sporting or healthy nation, as for one, working with KKM to start, working with the family ministry to start with. I think that it's more important than investing into a platform or an application to try to get people to participate, because that doesn't help. It's going to be another white elephant where we are very good in creating but very bad in maintaining. So that's always been a legacy in Malaysia, as we know. I mean, it's sad to admit that, but you have to face the hard truth. Yeah, this is happening. So now you look back into the obesity of this nation. If you are looking at KBS has a really Belia and Sukan. In the last term, a lot of concentration on Belia, a lack of Sukan. The term before was so much on elite Sukan. We have a podium program, everything, but the public program is totally neglected. So I think there needs to be a balance. That's for one. That's my recommendation. Number two is that the vision should include mass participation as one of the pillars of activating Malaysia into sport, be it in running, in cycling, in swimming, in whatever form of sport, yeah, where you get more people involved. I think that's the second pillar that we should be really putting our focus on it. Now, the moment you have the mass participation and more people getting into a healthier nation, that's where you find talent. That's where you find excellent elites from our pool of people, yeah. And that's where the private sector, like the Sports Coalition and event organizers, can assist. The National Federation can assist, because now we are, instead of looking at 10 people to select one, now we have 100 or 200 people to select one. So that is easier for us to really get the cream of the crop. Yeah, that's my thought process. Yeah, because I've been in this industry for so long, and it's always skewed to one direction. It's always the elite sport, and everybody else is just not important right now. So I think that vision for long term needs to be focusing on that, making Malaysia a sporting nation. That's really should be our main focus moving forward. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you, CG. I just want to add on to that when you mentioned about obesity and KKM. I mean, I was involved with a study, I think about 2 years back, where we saw the direct correlation on healthcare spend and obesity. So I mean, at the current rate, right, we're going up. We're the most obese country in Southeast Asia. I know we're the fatties. We're the fatties of Southeast Asia. We have to admit that. I mean, just looking at the panel today, also you've got sports panelists, and I'm overweight. Rick's overweight. I don't know how fit Shamil is, but he plays football. But yeah, obesity is a problem in this country. And we did a very rough study. The amount of money that KKM will spend on the public health sector to counter or to treat the obesity and everything that comes with it. Obesity leads to diabetics, obesity leads to heart problems, obesity leads to a lot of issues, health issues. And this will actually take a strain on our healthcare. So healthcare funding has to go up. So therefore, the only way for us to reduce healthcare spending or to manage healthcare spending for the future is actually to spend more on grassroots sports, to spend more on mass participation sports, which is what exactly CG Lim has said. So this is something which we are trying to show government, and if we can come together as a coalition, as an industry, and show this correlation that having more mass participation sports, having more community sports, having more people in the sports industry has a direct correlation to the country's spending on healthcare in the future. And this is not, this is not rocket science. This has been done in other countries, and the correlation has been shown. So I think that's a very important point that CG Lim had touched upon, and I think it's something we should delve into, because then that gives us credence as an industry where funding should be directed more to mass participation sports, and this sports industry coalition will have an even stronger impetus in the greater scheme of things. Right.
If I may touch on two topics, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to everyone. I'd just like to reiterate the fact that up to now, the amount of questions that we have within the Q&A, the comments that we have in the chat has been of great value that I can see.
Yeah, superb points. Yeah.
Super feedback. I'd like to touch on two major components here. The first one would be regarding comments by Azman, by CG, by Karen Low, as well as other comments in the Q&A. A lot touches on the sports industry, the requirement of sports industry unit within KBS, the requirement of a better understanding to better facilitate and equip the industry. However, we are starting from the building blocks now. I'm happy to report that there is a SIS, or Secretariat Industri Sukan, within KBS, and I'm sure they will be happy to listen to you guys. However, I'd just like to clarify in terms of the SIS, what we are seeking to do is from the ground up, where we understand that, number one, the industry needs a definition, and KBS is seeking to provide that definition via looking at and identifying sub-economic sectors. So to understand whether Malaysia has international sub-sectors or unique sub-sectors which are special to us and where we have to respond accordingly. So thirdly is a taxation code for the industry, to be able to incentivize and structure a taxation code which works specifically for the sports industry and the companies and businesses within the industry. So the main agenda is to create a sports satellite account, or SSA. It is an ongoing collaborative effort within KBS, ISN, and the other relevant agencies. And we are happy to report that there will be some improvements and new news in that juncture soon. Secondly, I'd like to touch on some of the comments. Actually, there's about 7 or 8 comments in regards to talent development, identification, and also nurturing. Yeah. So there were comments on how do we address the issue of talent continuity, the obvious loss of Datuk Nico David, the obvious loss of Datuk Lee Chong Wei, which has been diubatkan somewhat by the Lizzie Jia's recent victory. However, we still see the imperative need for a proper talent identification program. Hence, from ISN's purview, we are happy to report that ISN is now driving My Bakat, which is also a talent ID and development program, which is a continuity and also an improvement and a reinvigoration of My TID done during the last YBKJ's administration. So having said that, there is a full perspective on the importance of talent identification, on the inculcation of this developmental plan within the education system, as well as the private club and talent nurturing system. Yes, we appreciate all the efforts by everyone here, yeah, from a commercial and non-commercial perspective. We hope that this interest, this support, as well as this discourse will continue in our future sessions. For your information, VSN 2030 will be having public town halls every week with different focus groups. Some town halls will be private, only a few, but most will be public. And everyone here is free to, we invite you to come and attend. And if you can think of new ideas and feedbacks to give us, please come and join us. Or alternatively, you can also visit www.vsn2030.my and leave your aspirations and views there. If you want to scold us, you want to give us some complaints, please do, by all means. However, do provide us with solutions as well, because there are also comments here which I noticed which questions our methodologies in developing VSN 2030. Number one, mainly, is cutting through the noise. I can't remember who was the commenter just now, but yes, there is a great amount of exponential data coming at us at a high velocity and volume. And this data is both structured and unstructured in the form of comments, in the form of audio clips, video recordings when we go out to public areas to record the public and all. So hence, we are developing a system that reads and interprets all of these messages to be able to judge via frequency, develop relevance via strategic value of the comments, as well as then proceed to put it forth, all of your ideas, put it forth in a structured manner to the relevant few committees who will be within the Blueprint Developmental Team. So on behalf of Team KBS, Bahagian Dasar dan Strategic, and all of the other agencies within KBS, we want to assure you that there is so much coming on board to us, and we want to ensure that everyone is heard, whether you have good or bad things to say, whether you have constructive or just deconstructive criticism. We will try to listen to you as much as possible, and we will try to filter and digest and then translate it into progressive ideas for VSN 2030.
All right, great, Shamil. Thank you. I mean, that's fantastic, Shamil. I want to address a point here, which I'm seeing a lot on the questions. I mean, there are a lot of questions people are asking. It's like, what is VSN going to do for esports? What is VSN? What are the initiatives for motorsports? What are initiatives for rugby? I just want to get clear. I think this is a personal view. This does not represent VSN, so please don't blame VSN for this. But being in the industry for so long and being exposed to it globally, right? I think associations and industries like motorsports and all that usually lean on their fan base, lean on their interest. You know, there are people who want to drive the industry forward, so therefore they drive it like a commercial business. I mean, to take example, something that I've had personal relationships with is the Fremantle Yacht Club in Australia, you know, in sailing. They're a small community-based yacht club, but over the last 10 years, they have produced 50% of America's Cup sailors. Some of you may ask, what is America's Cup sailors? America's Cup sailors are the highest competitive paid sailors in the world. I know James Pithill in 2007 won $30 million for winning the America's Cup for Larry Ellison. So what I'm trying to say here is that they have created a small community club, has created an ecosystem where they funnel the best sailors in the world to the most highest competitions in the world. So it is something which they have done without government or anyone interfering. It's on their own basis. So I think for us, for Malaysian sports to take it to the next level, we have to be commercially orientated, because a lot of these clubs, I mean, a lot of you here are EPL fans. You know, Liverpool, Manchester, Man City started in the 1890s as basically clubs where people put their own money in and they grew from there like running a business. So I think the days of where government knows right and government will keep handing out money to all these industries are long gone. I think that is something we really have to come to terms with. And I think, you know, government, you have to look at them as probably like another VC or an investor of sorts. If you can show that your industry is poised to help the economy, it's going to help national GDP, it's going to alleviate lives, it's going to help community, then government can strongly put a case in to put money into your sport. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. I mean, this is a personal opinion, but something that I've experienced over the years. And all right, so we'll go next to the next question, I think. You mentioned Karen Low earlier, Shamil. She has mentioned here some questions on VSN. You know, she feels that the timeline for this blueprint is too long. You know, maybe we should focus on possible recovery for the current right now. You know, there are a few questions that she's asked. Maybe some points on yourself on what Karen has said.
Karen, thank you for the input. We realize that 10 years is mightily long. However, that is why we have developed a living document, something to be revisited every year. So as Richard rightly pointed out just now, our plans and phases of implementation has been divided into segments. So we have the low-hanging fruits to be achieved and inculcated and activated via the next 6 to 12 months. There's the low-hanging fruit plans. Then we have the midterm plans, which is encompasses plans to be realized from the 2nd to the 5th year. And then we have the long-term plans, which are actually born out of the short and medium-term plans to be able to ensure continuity. However, Bahagian Dasar and Strategic from KBS also, as the gatekeepers and custodians of the blueprint itself, is seeking to develop an annual revisit of the actual plan to be able to speak again to every one of you, for us to have a deja vu session in the future, hopefully, for us to speak again and to chart hopefully the successes of VSN up to that date, and also for you to sound out our failures, to round out the inefficiencies and also the discrepancies between what we said and what we executed, so we will be able to put it right. Yeah. So with that in mind, we'd like to underline, to bold the fact that we don't know the absolute solution. We don't know the completely right answer. We are making decisions based on many indeterminate factors, which we are listening to thousands of voices. Hence, there is an understanding that we do not know exactly what to do. So we are seeking the help and opinion of everyone around us to be able to more effectively do our jobs.
Great, thank you. Richard?
Yeah. Shamil, can I just add in one point? Again, I speak independently for now. I know you said that this will be revisited every year. I think it's important to hold ourselves to be accountable, that such town hall meetings should be held annually. You know, maybe not as focused as we have now, where we are targeting group by group to make it more intimate in our discussion. And when we collate information, it is more focused as compared to all over the place. Tapi pada hemat saya lah, kalau boleh, setiap tahun, we must do one major town hall meeting like this to update the public is what we are doing, to hold ourselves accountable and refer to the canvas. And to be fair, I think you already planned that, but it's now a matter of how to execute it, right? And that's important, because I don't think that's been done before, right, Shamil? Yeah. Anyway, just me wanting to make sure that these don't go down the drain.
All right, great. Thank you, Richard. Okay, just looking at our Q&A, Abu Bakar Fikri Sulaiman, appreciate the efforts. He feels the way forward is privatization. Yes, I would say profit to a certain level, but I think the key word here is sustainability. I mean, for anything to be sustainability, you need to make revenue and you need to make profit. You know, whether the amount of profit is a different story, but yeah, great comment there from Abu Bakar Fitri. Okay, I think we've got a very interesting question here from, I noticed from Sarina again. The pandemic will end, but COVID-19 may be here to stay. I completely agree with that. The virus is going to stay, you know. We will need a new game plan to address and achieve all the goals stated under the 6 pillars. Is VSN 2020 geared towards that? Geared towards, you know, the post-COVID scenario?
Okay, if I may attempt to answer that. With the post-pandemic, you know, living in these unprecedented times, we understand that we need an obvious and complete pivot of the approaches within what we do. So having said that, we are geared towards the future, or rather we are gearing ourselves up towards the future via technology, or the attempts to harness technologies and the emerging technologies within our shores. So I believe Sarina is also a proponent of a new technology that uses the study of neuro and synapses towards garnering marginal gains in peak performance. So we are actively via campaigns and units within the National Sports Institute, ISN, to promote and creating a more fertile environment to propagate these businesses, to turn these ideas into products and services, and to bring it to the fore. So from there, you create a business, you create valuable members of the ecosystem in terms of business, but those members of the ecosystems are also the ones who will develop technologies that will help and assist and create better athletes and future generation to come.
Okay, great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've just got a few minutes left for this session. We're not going to let it drag on too long. I think we want to keep it short and sharp. We've got a lot of comments coming in. We thank you all very much for your comments, your questions, and the chat group. This has definitely been a very good experience for us to start collating, and I think this is a much more effective way of collecting all the information. Definitely we will take, I think most importantly now, I think from this first town hall is that what action comes out of this? What information comes out of this? I think just from the moderator's point of view, to Shamil and to the VSN team, I think we have a lot of comments here today. I think what would be grateful for the community that have contributed today is that seeing the minister or seeing or KBS acknowledge some of their concerns, acknowledge some of their ideas. I think that sense of acknowledgement in the beginning will give a lot more confidence to this whole platform as a platform to move the industry forward. I think a lot of things from experience in the past, we've seen people take a lot of effort to put their comments or their opinions in, but it comes to naught. I think the first step, I'm not saying that we're going to solve all your problems. I'm not saying that VSN is going to be the solution to everything. But I think acknowledging what you have said, what the people have said, will be a first step. That's the most important, I think. All right. So maybe we should start beginning to wind it down. Does anybody else from the panel, from our audience, want to say something? Maybe we can take one or two last comments from people. I know a lot of people have written down stuff, but I would like to hear some people's voices as well. So you can raise your hands. If not, I think we're going to be winding it down already. Maybe some last words from Shamil, last words from Richard before we close the session at 4:30. Maybe Shamil, you want to say last few words? And anyone in the audience, please raise your hand, click the button there, and we will allow you to have some words to share with everyone on the call today. Okay. Shamil?
I'd like to reiterate the fact that all of your comments within the Q&A section and also the chat section will be recorded for posterity, and beyond that will be fed into the VSN 2030 informational stream. So we would like to extend our appreciation and many thanks to everyone here today. To Shafiq, to Richard, thank you for your undying support towards VSN and all of the efforts and endeavors by KBS. To everyone here, people from the industries, friends, you know who you are. Your voices are integral. It's imperative for us to develop an understanding. Some of the things that you say, we say, we sound like broken records. We say it many times. However, it's an effort that needs to go on. It's an endeavor that is necessary. It sounds cliche. We are preparing this for the future generation, but I'm doing this for my son. So I hope that, I know that everyone has the same motivations as I do. So let's all together focus on the positives for a while, or rather even focus on the negatives, but try to make our mark, leave our legacy, try to stamp our footprint on VSN 2030. So again, this is the start of many town hall sessions, and I hope to hear and see you all again, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shamil. Before we go to Richard, we have a hand raised. Zyril Izain, we're allowing you to talk now. Please unmute yourself and share what you wish to share.
Hi guys, Assalamualaikum semua and selamat untuk Richard. Saya just nak rakamkan satu ucapan sepenuh penghargaan lah atas inisiatif, terutama inisiatif VSN dan juga sesi discussion hari ni, petang ni bagi saya cukup bermanfaat. Kita dah lama lemau, tak dapat sukma, tak dapat main bola, tak dapat berbasikal. Tapi petang ni saya rasa begitu bersemangat lah. Thank you guys. Hopefully yang ni akan recorded dekat YouTube atau Facebook. Thank you so much.
Inshallah. We will have the recording, and I think it will be uploaded on the VSN, Facebook, and YouTube, which Shamil will probably let you know at a later point. So stay tuned. Follow VSN on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all the channels that are out there. And inshallah, we will share this as well. Okay, we're coming close to the end. Let's take some final words from Richard before we close the session for today.
Oh, thank you, Shafiq. Very quick one. I'm just a moderator here, and just like many of you here, we all love sports. Kita memang cintakan sukan di Malaysia. Let's really push VSN to work. Make it accountable to us. Make it work with us. Make it work for us. And more importantly, it is actually managed by us. So let's do this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today. As you probably have seen for the last 20 minutes, there have been a poll on your screens. 71% of you have answered the poll. We'd appreciate for those of you who haven't answered the poll to answer it, to give us the feedback, the information that we require. Once again, this is something new that BSN is trying, and all your comments, all your questions, all your feedback on the poll will definitely help us in putting up a case to the powers that be, to KBS, to the minister, and so on and so forth. And I think as all of us have mentioned earlier, we can't do this alone. And I think also there is a recent webinar that was conducted where the CEO of ISN mentioned that the days of government knows best are over. You know, they have to be the facilitators for the industry, for the public, and for the people. So I think we firmly believe that, and we need to model that behavior. I mean, the days of pointing fingers and, you know, just berating people with no constructive solutions are over. I think we have seen that with COVID, that if we don't bound together, we don't come together, we're not going to come out of this at all. You know, whether we like it or not, we have to embrace change. we have to come together. We have to embrace technology, digitalization. There's so much that needs to be changed and that we have learned from COVID. And I think that should push us in the right direction to make things better. Thank you. Follow the VSN, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, to get latest updates on the next town hall. This has been a prototype of sorts, Shamil, correct? This session has been a prototype of sorts. We, the moderators, and as well as Shamil, has learned a lot. And inshallah, for the future, we will improve and hopefully bring to you some concrete and impactful results for the future. So signing off for VSN, I'm Shafiq Iqbal. Thank you for joining us and catch us on our next town hall. Thank you very much and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Bye. Thank you.